building walls like pipes. Motown soul rap mixed in the fix. Tiny cover spitting truth, microphone holder. Past the noise scene, watch growth in the folder. Black beers, bright spotlight in the dark. Hustling hard, lighting sparks in the park. Beam on news, we'll be breaking glass ceilings. All black every day, income healing. Donnie Glover, flip the script. Let's go, Black Wall Street roadmap, be more flow. Real talk, stock rise, dreams ain't looking hollow. Blueprints, handshakes, enemies follow. Baltimore kings, queens crown on the throne. Legacy built, stone by stone. Headlines, deadlines, moves in the background. Politics, money clips, elevate the town. Black beard strategists, wealth can't be missed. Twist the plot, make the whole world twist. BMO News, success we inhaling. Victories, IRS, no detailing. Donnie Glover, rise to shine, let's glow. Focused on
GDP is $23 trillion. 23
be more grind, ride shine through the struggle. Black dollar circulate, flexing muscle. Politics and beers building walls like pipes. Spitting truth, microphone holder. Past the noise scene, watch growth in the.
First name is Doni, last name is Glover. Entered the winning for the long haul, baby. We have with us today Miss Alfrieda Robinson. How are you, Miss Alfrieda?
I'm doing great. How are you, Doni?
No need complaining. No need complaining at all. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. First timer. It's exciting to be here with you.
Yes, ma'am. America has 1 in 4 of the incarcerated persons in the planet.
Mm-hmm.
While we're only 5% of the world's population,
Correct, Mundo.
25% of the incarcerated persons, nearly 40% of them are black men, and black women are the fastest growing demographic.
That's right.
What do you know about those numbers?
Oh, I know that there's been at least a 585% in female incarceration from 1980 to 2022. And of that number, we still are not even talking about the local jails. We got 93,000 women in local jails. And I don't know what it is. I mean, we females are being over incarcerated now at a rate faster than men. And I don't know if that's because they're building more prisons that they want women to fit in, or we just don't get any respect at all. We have more issues that may cause us to go to jail. We have more mental health issues. And all of those things are just kind of swept under the rug. And I've always said when you take a female away, you kind of take away that soft, nurturing part, the backbone of the community. You know, we're the mothers, you know, we're the sisters, we're the aunties, we're the nanas. And when that goes, it just takes away some of the, I'll just say the softness, you know, the humanity part of it, you know. And another thing that I've always noticed, when you take a female away, oh, well, you know, come home to the mom, she's grown, she's got a kids, I'm not dealing with all of that. But when you take a male away and they come home, mama's always got open arms to greet my baby boy, you know. It just has always been, it's just not equal when it comes to female. And with females, they always say we've got so many issues, we don't want to deal with them. But until we start dealing with the issues, we're still going to have these numbers shooting up. You know, we got to talk about what it means that the women have been so traumatized, mostly by men, sometimes the very men that they are covering for, that they're incarcerated for. So we've got to look at some of those issues, peel back the layers of that onion, and we've just got to begin to deal with it and stop acting like it doesn't exist. You know, incarceration is a problem overall. I just tend to know personally some of the issues of the females having been there and done that. So, you know, I kind of became a voice for the females over what it happened in my own case. But it's a bad situation now, and now the numbers are like 87,000, almost 90,000 women that are incarcerated in federal and state prisons. And that's just, when are we going to say stop? When are we going to say, what are some alternatives? When are we going to say, what else can we do other than locking them up and throwing away the key? And when I say federal time, I do mean throwing away the key, because the average sentence starts with 8 to 12 years.
day for day.
That's, yeah. Oh, yeah. You get out of it. You probably get. I think we got what. Uh, I don't even remember, but it was like less than 10 days a year accumulated in federal time. You could increase it by your work and, working in federal prisons, a unicorn, all of that. But thank God, I've been home since 2000. So God has allowed me to forget some of it, and just go ahead and focus on some other things. But of course, there are some things you just will never forget.
Trauma. We have
Mm-hmm.
a lot of trauma and a lot of unidentified, unhealed trauma in our community.
That's right.
You couple that with a 70% recidivism rate, and add to that 70% of our households
Our
are
female led.
single mothers.
And couple that with, unfortunately, the use of substance. The substance,
Weed, coke, dope, crack,
yeah.
alcohol.
And why do we do that sometimes? Sometimes we do that to anesthetize the pain that we're living with every day, because we just cannot deal with what is going on. But it's just, the whole situation. If we don't get a hold of it, but the trauma, um, do you think jail or prison heals the trauma?
No, it exacerbates the problem.
We are re-traumatized all over again. I mean, a little thing like having a visit, having a family visit, and then to turn around and have to bend over, squat, and cough after the visit, and just every time we go into the cafeteria, go get something, the mess hall, we're patted down and searched every time we come in and out of there. And guess what? Usually, I mean, once in a blue moon, you might have a female officer, but usually 9 times out of 10, it's male officers who are doing that. So it's just the same thing all over again. And it's in positions of trust that are people who do a lot of the traumatizing. So you've got, I've had, I hate to say it, but it's the truth, that many of our women have been traumatized by one mothers, boyfriends, or husbands, or their own dads. And a lot of times they're just not believed when they tell the story to their own mom and other pastors. Many times where women have gone to the church and gotten to know the pastor and all of that, a lot of times it's the pastors have been in the forefront of that. So you hear these stories over and over and over again. When do we start believing them? When do we start doing something about it? Teachers, it's just a bad situation. We're doing a lot better with teachers and all of that, but with sometimes we've just got to be believed and then move on past that. And how do you move on past that if you've had no mental health therapy, if you've had no one to really sit down and help you work your way through the pain? A lot of times it's just with loss, and in the inner city we see so much death and dying. It becomes the norm, and then we lose our ability to care and feel about things that are going on. And it's just, how do you teach a person to care? How do you teach a person to love? How do you teach a person to feel for things when they've not felt that for themselves? And you got to begin somewhere by having conversations. And sometimes those conversations, when people come to grips with where they are and even how they got there, I had a woman that sat in my office one day, and she was in her 40s, and she says, "Here I am, 40 something. I've never worked a job in my life. I don't even know what I can do." And it's those kind of situations. I climbed out of a dumpster. That's where I've been living. When you deal with some of those very real issues for people, you begin to say, how is this system designed that it has gotten that far out of hand? Where do we begin? And that's the issue. And now, Donnie, I've turned a glorious age now where I'm retired, and now I just kind of do some consultant work, and just kind of help people one on one where I can. And I was on the board with Pivot, which is a female reentry program that I was working with, seeing some of the same issues, but working with the National Women's Prison Project, taking kids to see their moms, having kids tell me that they don't even want their moms to come home because they're just going to do the same thing. And when you get that recycling of the issues all over again, when you see, and now I go into the schools and work with kids, and you see it almost makes you really want to cry, Donnie, when you see kids 3, 4, and 5 who are so angry at that age. You know, I can't, I don't know. In my day, if we got angry, our moms would, moms and dad would just say, well, just, you're going to get over it, pat you on the back, give you a punishment, and that's it. But now, even schools are designed to, well, let him, don't touch him, let him get over it, see if you can get it out. You give him an alternative, give him this toy. He can have it after he sits for, 2, 3 minutes, time out. And we're not reaching the issues in this community of what's making people so angry all the time. Is it the poverty? Kids don't know when they're living in poverty.
Just know you took their mother away. The system took their mother away, or the mother took herself away by consistently getting into trouble, let alone the father.
Right.
70% single mother household. So that means 7 out of 10
Oh, I know.
households where their children,
Have been removed. Well, the parents have been removed, and
there's an unbalance. Say
and
what
then
we want, there's an unbalance.
so the question is, where do these kids go? Do they go to Nana?
They
Do they
find
go to
love in the
Grandma?
streets a lot of time.
Exactly. Or they're in the system, and or an auntie or another family member who's trying to keep the family together, who can't afford to do it, who can't afford the phone calls, who can't afford to take them down the road for visits, and it's just a situation where even the kids know they're not being treated like their own parents would have treated them when you have a good parent in the home, because if drug substance and all of that has been going on, there can be instances where kids may be better off with a grandma or someone else who's going to care for them until we get the needed help for the parents.
So some people are not going to like what I'm about to say, but it needs to be said.
Come on.
You asked earlier, what can we do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Over the past 2 months, 3 months, we see this new phenomenon taking over Black America.
Hmm. What is that?
A
Non-caring?
damn line dance called Boots on the Ground.
And you see all of the kids out there shaking their little fannies like they're grown.
The
I am.
whole world has been taken by this boots on the ground. Now I'm gonna say it again.
Mm-hmm.
1 in 4 of the incarcerated persons on planet Earth are right here in America.
Mm-hmm.
40%, nearly 40% of those incarcerated are Black men. Black women are the fastest growing demographic.
Right.
I even saw Shaq doing the damn fan dance.
I saw that
Shake,
too.
shake, shake. And it's like, okay, I get it. We love to dance. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I get it.
Yeah.
But can we do a damn line dance to the library?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because we are graduating an entire generation of illiterate people.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And we're passing them on just because of their age, just to get them out of there because there are problems in the classroom.
But
But
we
the bottom line,
concerned about
Donnie,
a damn fan.
I get out there and do boots on the ground. I'm not gonna lie about that. But the
I'm
bottom line
cool
is
with it.
we can have our time for recreation and fun, but we can still have our time to have some substance on our
We're
brains.
growing an illiterate generation that can't even sign their name.
I know, and they've taken cursive writing out of schools. You know that.
Where are our priorities? Because, like you said, these little kids are so angry
Yes.
at 5, 6, 7. So
You
what
know,
do they do when they do go to school? They are disruptors.
Tony, I think it becomes a priority when it hits us personally. Collectively as a group, and we've gotten out there and Black Lives Matter and all of that, but we've never ever come up with clearly identified leaders with goals and a path for us to actually get somewhere. How do we get out of debt? How do we become homeowners? How do we come to understand unity as a race of people? How do we come to understand what's important, leaving a legacy for our children? Who has those kind of conversations with us anymore? You think we're going to get it from school? Are we getting it
With
from
my
church
people,
anymore when our pastors are are politicized and are being noticed for their bad behavior
when my people
or called by my name?
shall humble themselves,
Seek my face
pray.
and turn from their wicked ways. Then we'll hear from heaven and he will heal our land. Baby.
There's a condition. When we,
Mm-hmm.
starting with men,
Mm-hmm.
because we've been distracted, and if you have 70% single mother household, and I'm not saying women can't raise men,
Right.
but it wasn't designed
Right.
like that. It took a
Right.
man and a woman to make it. It takes a man and a woman and an entire village to raise it.
Correct.
And we got to stop listening to people who can't raise their own children tell us how to raise ours. You hear what I say?
I hear what you're saying.
They got this thing called timeout. Did
Exactly.
timeout work in your community?
No. Timeout did
Timeout was
not
when
work.
your mother pulled that strap or that
That's
switch
right.
out. I
That's
got you
right.
timeout. And call the police on my mother.
That's right.
Because I know they got people call the police on their mother. Call the police on Lily Glover
You
and see
hope that
where
you
your
won't
black
end up in
ass
the
get.
hospital. You hope you won't end up in the hospital. But see, I believe that the old values and the old ways that we used to do things is what worked. But when you've got even me, I raised my son. I had my son at 15 years old. So when you have younger parents who are raising children, it changes. Unless you've got like someone older that can help nurture you and show you the correct way to do things, it's hit or miss. We're trying things out and we're doing what works. And unfortunately, our kids are seeing a lot of negative behaviors and they're copying those behaviors. And you know it because they're coming to school and they're telling you exactly what's going on in the household.
And you mentioned the preachers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No,
Unfortunately.
ain't no slight to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But in the black community, we kind of look at preachers like we do drug dealers. We revere them.
We do. We do.
Oh,
Because we
did you hear Pastor? Did you hear Pastor call for this? And
That's right.
Pastor then had sex with 2 women on the front row.
Yep. Yep.
So truth be told, and people don't want to hear this, then he need a timeout from being a pastor.
I've
because
heard it
he
too
got some
many
personal
times.
issues to
Yes.
disaffect his testimony. Or you find out that your pastor ain't a dog, your pastor's a cat.
A cat?
Yeah, you thought your pastor was straight, and then you find out
Uh well,
your pastor ain't,
that's right. That's right. Or,
but
they got
telling you
all of,
what to do.
I can't even keep up with all of the labels, for how we're him, her, pronoun correct and all of this kind of crap. And, that becomes a prerequisite for even jobs that you're going to get. And Lord knows, we've got a long way to go when we talk
And
about that.
let's
But
not forget the nasty priests.
yeah, yeah. But you know what, Donnie?
And some of them
For
nuns ain't wrapped too damn tight too.
but for a person to come forth and say, "This is what happened to me,"
20,
if
30,
they
40
get the
years
nerve
ago.
to if they get the nerve to say it, and then to have no follow-up on that, or no protection that comes out of there. And Donnie, when I dealt with trauma and took courses, and I do a rites of passage a couple times a year to help people walk through what some of their traumas were, and they got to the point that they were so caught up in it you couldn't even touch them. But there is such a thing as trauma before kids are even able to speak, where kids have been sexualized and touched and all of that before they could even say words. So you got kids who are caught up in so much
Stuff they
trauma that
can't even articulate.
they can't even talk. They
It's
they
deep
they
in their
don't have.
spirit.
They don't even know what it is. And that's some of the sicknesses that we live in our community, with folks taking advantage, poking, sticking objects in. I mean, and kids grow up with that, and we've got to wonder. I mean, sometimes it seems like you can recognize some things in kids, but until they come and say something, you can't do anything. You just got to wait until some kind of way that it comes out. So we've just got to have conversations, and sometimes they have anger management classes. And I was over at working with Bon Secours for a while with created a female reentry program for them, and we were connected to the courts, and we actually had kids who were getting locked up, from 12 to, I think, 12 to maybe 15, and we were with Anise Rahim. Remember Rahim? And we would work with them with
Yes.
anger management and what's going on with them. And they got to the point where they learned to trust us. And after they learned to trust, they would begin to open up and talk about why they were angry, and why they would do some of the things that they were doing. And it's a hard thing because everybody can't work with certain age groups. But when you can get their trust and begin to get them to talk about what's going on, when they have their own language and they have their own reason for why they don't want to be understood by adults, because adults have not given them a place that they can trust them.
I
So
look
it's,
at Baltimore City public school system.
oh Lord.
I think of Charlie Duggar, who's gone to many meetings, and they would say, 30 seconds, Mr. Duggar, because Charlie went over there with a speech to make, and they
Mm-hmm.
always try to narrow it down. 30 seconds, Mr. Duggar. And he's done it religiously, not just this year, last year, for decades.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie Duggar even ran for mayor once. But Charlie Duggar is the man who used to come around with the bus and would take us to Druid Hill Park for the Harambe Splash Party. He took me on the radio,
Mm-hmm.
WEAA and WEBB,
Oh yeah.
from 1980.
Mm-hmm.
And he would also take us to visit the prisons,
Mm.
Charlie
Okay.
Duggar.
Okay.
But every school administration over on North Avenue would try to curtail his speeches, and he was just talking common sense.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, for my generation, it was Miss White. So we would all be
Viola
threatened.
Hillwhite,
Exactly. So we'd all be threatened by, all right, I'm gonna
Violet
take you.
Hillwhite.
Miss White's you're gonna get with Miss White, and that's gonna be it. But Donnie, do you remember the Scared Straight program?
Yes.
They cut that out completely. And I don't think anything scares our kids anymore. It's a badge of honor for them to be tough now. So
Yeah,
where's
that's all well and dandy until they close that door behind you.
yeah, well, you've got kids who do whatever they do and they won't tell, that's for sure. They just go ahead and they take it on the
Common
cheek.
sense say you don't want to be in that box.
Yeah, to the average person. But to the person who sees crime day after day after day after day, it's just another. I've been moved from point A to point B. That's it. And
So
my
so so
job here,
that's a uh, institutionalization, right?
yes,
I grew up
yes.
with a guy, little Stevie,
Mm,
and little Stevie would come home, but before you know it, he was right back. Little Stevie was essentially afraid to come home.
mm, mm.
He had been institutionalized so much.
Yeah,
I mean, by the age of 16, 17, 18.
yeah, yeah. See, that
He
that
spent more
reminds.
time locked up than he did on the streets.
Yeah, that's like my friend Turtle Wells. Turtle Wells was in and out of jail and had such long numbers, and he liked doing what he did. A lot of the older folks, and came home, and that's the thing. You spend so many years incarcerated, and then you come home and you can't really deal with the situation out here. Turtle was doing fine, but his health was not. Turtle was not home 5 whole years before he was gone, before he was deceased, and that's what you see. And those are some of the issues with incarceration now, because federal prisons have people that are in there for so long. You need long-term care for people who've been incarcerated so long, whose health, they will die in prison.
Let alone
And
the stories of cancer from the food.
uh, don't even talk about the food and how fast you gotta shove it down like you're a cow out grazing. But it's just it's inhumane treatment. It's 24/7, and you just learn how to deal with it, and that's it. But so many issues that affect us even coming out of there. What about a job? How long are you going to hold my record against me? How long do I live like this?
If you're
When are
black,
you
forever. Because if you're
exactly.
white, you can be president.
Exactly.
If you're white, you can be a rapist
Mm-hmm.
and be president.
Mm-hmm. You can do anything you
You
want
can
to do.
you can
Talk
invade
about it.
all of the public records. If you're white, you can do that. And I just hope that the good white people out here who voted for this clown understand the values they're
Mm-hmm.
imparting on their own children. You're saying it's okay.
And what was it about?
Selfishness,
What was it
greed.
actually about? Was it about you just didn't want a female in there? Is it just that you didn't, because we've had a black president, so is it
It's,
just that
it's it's about ignorance.
yeah,
Anytime Latinos gonna vote for somebody
who
who,
clearly
who
wants to
just
send them
clearly
all.
put you out,
Exactly.
that's ignorance.
And this mass deportation now, and it makes you
And
want
black
to
women said,
say,
"Don't come over here asking us for no damn support. We told you, you went over there, so go on now." What they say down south, go
yeah,
on now.
go and get. So we've got to come up with our own strategy, and it's the same thing in the Democratic Party as in our communities. Who are our leaders? How do we get a plan to get out of this mess that we're in? How do we get followers when we can't even get blacks to buy black?
I was
You know,
watching something last night about they were saying uh somebody had a problem with Cory Booker. And it's like,
I like him.
I wanted to say STFU.
STFU. Oh Lord Jesus.
Just shut up.
Uh-huh.
If you ain't got nothing good to say about the man,
Don't
well,
say anything at
I
all.
didn't always trust Cory. Just shut up. Don't
Yes.
we know when enough is enough?
Well, we did our
Is
own
it
damage.
necessary?
We did our own damage with this last election.
Yeah, but okay, they don't like Cory. Cory, nobody said the man was Malcolm X, but the man stood up there for 25 hours. Do we want to give anybody credit? That's some low self-esteem shit right there.
Right.
If your self-esteem is so twisted, this man has stood up there for 25 hours without a bathroom break.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we still gonna be critical. That means we've taken on the mentality of the people who are doing the very oppressing.
Yeah, the people who've enslaved us. And
Pedagogy of the oppressed. And that's
textbook.
what I'm saying. With all due respect, I know you did boots on the ground. We need the boots on the ground to the library.
Exactly.
And everybody need to take on 10, 15 books.
Yeah, well.
Because we clearly don't know our history.
Well, Donnie, you're an expert in that field. But it starts at home. It starts at home with families trying to
Bernie
preserve.
Mac told him, whip your kids.
Well, for us to stop
Oh,
with
no. This lady told me, and she can be mad all she wants because I tell her ass again. She said, don't beat your kids. Don't beat little people. I will whip that.
Well,
I never had to beat my kids.
right. And
But I damn
there's
sure try to terrorize
this
them.
whole litany of psychology that says, beating makes the kids angry. So how in the world do you get the kids to listen and understand what's going on? I think karate is a good thing. Karate is a
Karate is
good way
great.
to create discipline with your kids and for them to learn discipline. But who takes the time to actually be a part of? White parents, maybe because many of them don't work, they have the time to just really let me spend my life
They
doing what
don't
my
get no
kids need to
pass
do.
because they responsible for Donald Trump.
Ooh,
No. Off the
okay.
board.
Okay, but
No.
I know that Black parents have got to get out here. We've got to work. We've got to put food on the table. We've got to do what we've got to do, and still within the confines of the
But you
law.
remember, this is
And we
what
have to
happened,
raise
Miss
our
Frida.
kids.
Miss Frida, we got to a point maybe 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
If you said something to somebody else's kid, this new mentality came on the scene.
Right. Don't talk to my kids.
Don't say nothing to my kids. That
Exactly.
ignorant shit.
Exactly. Let me
It
tell
was
you,
shit. It's some ignorant attitude. You ain't effectively raised yours, but somebody
baby.
else gonna tell you, don't you say nothing to my, not my kid.
That's right.
Yeah, your
Not
kid.
only don't say something to my kids. If you put your hands or you do something to my kids, I'm coming. I was working over Fort Worthington where a kid hit the student in his class. A boy hit a girl. Mom came to the school the next morning. The principal says, "Oh, I can't let you come in here and do any harm to my kids." Don't you know that parent knocked that principal out, and the mom and the daughter were stomping the principal. So we've got a mentality, not only don't hit him, but I'm going to come up there and I'm going to fight your battles for you. And you got a lot of parents in jail because they put hands on kids. So we got to get to the point where what happens when we actually have a dialogue to try to figure out how we can say, I'm sorry, how we can move on, how I didn't mean it. We're teaching kids that in kindergarten and first grade. And then I don't know what by fifth grade, it looks like it's gone.
Oh, by the third grade. If a child isn't making academic progress, we just talked about this yesterday, by 8 years old, they already building a prison cell for them.
Yeah, that's true. But what are we going to do about it, Donnie? Because prison is not the answer. Prison is just making
One is
people.
cut the television off. We
You
watch too
learn
much
how to,
television.
yeah, you learn how to commit more crimes in prison than you did out here on the street. You
We
learn
watch
how to
too
be a
much
criminal.
television. We play too many damn video games. We ain't reading no
Yeah,
books. And
yeah.
okay, I got something for you.
What's that?
We read in the papers and hear on the air of killing and stealing and crime everywhere. We sigh and we say, as we notice the trend, this younger generation, oh, where will it end? But can we be sure that it's their fault alone? Are we less guilty for placing their way so many things that lead them astray? Too much money, too much idle time, too many movies of passion and crime, too many books not fit to be read, too much evil in what they hear said, too many children encouraged to roam, and too many parents who won't stay at home. Kids don't write the movies, they don't write the books, they don't paint gay pictures of gangsters and crooks. They don't make the liquor. They don't make the laws. They don't make the cars. They don't make the bars. They don't make the drugs that muddle the brain.
Mm-hmm.
That's all done by older folk,
Yep.
greedy for gain. Delinquent teenagers. Oh, how we condemn the sins of the nation. We blame on them.
Mm-hmm.
But by the laws of the blameless, the Savior made known. Who is there amongst you to cast the first stone?
Mm.
For in so many cases, it's sad, but it's true. The title delinquent fits older folk too.
Yeah. Did you write that?
No, man.
Hmm.
But it was on the walls of Dunbar back in 1983.
Really?
Mm.
Mm-hmm. You know, I taught it. I was a counselor at Dunbar High School. But the bottom line is, we're looking at all of this and pointing the finger, blaming. People have just got to raise their own kids. And we do the best that we can with what we've got, but sometimes our best is just not good enough. And when it's not good enough, we've got to be able to recognize that and be able to go reach out and say, you need help. We teach kids that at 3 years old. I have a 3-year-old class. When you need help opening your carton of juice, say, I need help. And that's difficult for a lot of people to do. Just say, I don't understand what's going on. My kids don't talk to me. How do I get back the feeling of family within my family? What is it that I do? My son is grown. I still try to have at least one day a week that we just connect on a deeper level, not just on the phone, but can we go to breakfast? Can we go out and do that? My daughter-in-law connects with her mom. Let's go do karaoke once a week. I mean, find something that you can do that you can just spend some quality time together. That spills over into the grandkids, just being able to for them to see that you are there and you will always be there, that you can count on me. And you can say that to your kids. I tell my grand I'm going to bring him donuts from Krispy Kremes, which he loves. And he says, Nana, don't forget you said you're going to bring me donuts tomorrow. And I'll say, you'd never have to remind me of what I told you. If I tell you I'm going to do something, you can count on me doing it. And that's what we've got to be able to do. Speak to people on their level, but be a person of our word and mean it. If we're taking lessons from Donald, we're learning how to be the best liars in the world. We've got to be able to do what we say we're going to do. And that too is old school. People don't do that anymore. People
Word.
say anything just to get you out of their face. And I've got to begin to, how do I trust? How do I know that you're actually going to do it if you don't do it? Demonstrate. Love is an action word. Don't just tell me you love me. Show me in what by what you do that you do love me. So back to the incarceration piece. That whole thing on coming home. Show me you love me. Show me you can help me. Help me get a job. Help me get a place to live. Help me learn how to speak to my family members if I've hurt you. How do I get back in? And that whole family reunification piece I used to do with moms coming home to their kids. It's gradual. You know, it took you a while to tear your life up like this. It's going to take you a while to get back into the graces of your kids. You tell them you're going to show up and, come to their school, do it. You've got to begin to say what you're going to do and then show the kids that you mean it and you're going to do it.
Ms. Alfrieda, how can people get in touch with you?
My number is 410-258-4928. We need to develop some nice after school programs for our kids. We need to teach kids how to put the devices down, how to look you in your eye and have good conversations, or just conversate. Say what you're feeling. Kids don't know how to do that anymore. But adults, unfortunately, we've got to teach adults how to speak the language too. I see so many people when I live in Baltimore County, but when I come into the city, I'm not knocking the city. I grew up in the city. But I see so many people who just want to beg.
And
You
white
know,
people in my neighborhood, I live in Sandtown, we got white panhandlers.
Come on now, we
Come
got to
on,
do
Donald
better.
Trump.
Can I give you a tip on how to get a job? Can I give you a tip on how to have some personal
We
hygiene
got
and
white
put on some?
panhandlers boldly in the black community. And it's like, dude, all this crap Trump talking, but you down here begging black people for drugs and money.
Well,
Because
you know
that's what they want, the drugs.
the whole thing changed once there was an influx to come out to the county.
Freddie
Now
Gray,
the
that's when it
influx,
changed.
huh?
Freddie Gray, 2015. The
Oh yeah.
police used to G-check white people coming to the avenue to buy dope. G-check them.
Mm-hmm.
After Freddie Gray, is a free for all.
Yeah.
Then we got white squatters around back.
Mm.
Fox News, Mackenzie Frost don't talk about the white squatters in the black neighborhood.
Yeah,
They don't
because
talk
you
about
don't.
the white panhandlers on the corner. They talk about the squeegee kids, but they don't see
Right.
their own. That's that double standard. And
Right.
that's why America's sick.
Well, at least the squeegee kids out there working, trying to do something to
Yeah.
earn it. Yeah, exactly. But on beyond all of that, we where do we begin to start helping the problem? Do we partner with the
In the
politicians?
womb. In the
The
womb,
polit
when that woman is pregnant, you start getting in that baby face.
Yeah,
I'm watching you. I love you, but I
in the
want
womb,
in the
Donnie. You don't know
womb.
nothing about that. But
In the womb. Let
in
them
the womb,
know.
you're
Let
rubbing
them
the
hear your
stomach, you're
voice.
playing the
This is your father. When you
exactly.
come out here, you better act like you got some sense.
Hook, you're playing the nice, gentle music. You're talking. You're speaking life over our kids, over our generations. They don't have to be your kids to speak life over. I see kids who are hungry in school every day, and I always have something extra in my lunchbox to give them so that they can eat. But that's solving the problem for right then. What about the weekends when they go home? It's one thing I'll give credit for the schools in Baltimore City. They have programs to send food home. You don't see that in Baltimore County. Baltimore County, the kids got to fend for themselves on the weekend.
In the city.
In the county, they fend for themselves. In the city, they have programs where they bag up food, they give it to them for the weekend. So that's a plus for Baltimore City. There's some good. We got to find the
Y'all
good.
got more markets out there in the county too, though.
Yeah, we got plenty of
Hell, in
markets.
West Baltimore, we got shoppers.
Yeah.
And
You
you
got food
navigating
deserts.
tainted meat.
Yeah, you got those food
Damn
deserts. I know.
shame.
Yeah,
Then they
so
tell us we can't support a market. White people got some racist crap with them.
telling you, starve you out. I mean, how do you've got
It's
elected officials.
racism.
What are your elected officials doing about it though?
I'm not gonna put it all on elected officials. Liberty Road had but they lost like 2 or 3 giants.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna it. Some of it is politics, but who removes a market? Only some diabolically evil people. Donald Trump ain't the only one.
Yeah.
And them damn Democrats ain't all your friends either.
Yeah.
Because Baltimore's 9-1 Democrat.
Well, sweetie, we can't keep on.
Democrats been running this piece.
We know the stats, but what are we going to do about it?
Democrats have been running Baltimore.
What are we going to do about? What are we going to do about it? Who are our leaders?
Vote them out. That's what Marion Barry told me. He said, when the bums don't do what you need done, vote them out. But we got a short attention span.
Who's got?
Black people.
Yeah, because see, I don't even want to go there on that we did have a group of black people who were voting for Donald Trump.
Oh, a small number. Them Latinos were even more. And white women, they really should be ashamed of themselves. You voted to kill your own. I mean,
right.
They kill their own interests. I ain't want to talk about that. Go on now.
I know, because we advertised it. We told them what was going on, and they still did it. So.
No, go on now.
But you know what we've got, Donnie? We've got a God who reigns supreme.
Who sits high and peeps low.
That's right. So we will get through this 4 years, and we will continue doing what we're doing. But we've got to have strategies to exist. All of these businesses that are shutting down. I mean, we've got to be able to do something. Our problems are being exacerbated. So we've got to learn how to survive with what we've got. and
They
how to
learn how to
move
mix the
forth and
tuna fish.
thrive. You know, we've been surviving so long. When do we move to the thrive part?
Some of us are thriving, but then we get there and then we think we're the only ones.
We have arrived.
Yeah, and we ain't supposed to hold the door for nobody. And
Hmm.
then our leaders are on social media doing this
Right. Right.
instead of doing some damn work.
So people, after incarceration, a cell phone was something that I wasn't even. I had to learn how to use because that was back in 2000. So just
Did
learning
you
how
have
to.
a real phone or a flip phone?
No, I had a real phone. And that darn somebody brought it to me. Look, I was in the halfway house over uh Monument Street, the old one before they built the new one. The old new motel, remember? So I had somebody stand over there. You couldn't come past the gate. But somebody came over and, gave me a cell phone. I didn't even know how to cut the thing on and off. The darn thing started ringing. I couldn't even cut it off. You couldn't have it. They're looking at me like, "Well, this girl is a fool." Somebody had to teach me how to put it on vibrate so that I
I
could
know this
keep it.
lady who got violated, Miss Gwen. She got
Gwen
violated
Levi.
because she didn't know how to check in
Yeah, you're talking
using
that's
a
my
mobile
friend Gwen
device.
Levi, and she's keeping the banner going. She's doing some, really good advocacy and getting out there and fighting for us all over
Not
again.
just in Baltimore.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know. Internationally, and I used to do all of that kind of stuff too. They called me the G mom, and they've come out and they've picked up the banner and continuing to do it and doing well. And while we're mentioning Gwen, shout out for her mom. Her mom hasn't been doing great, so please say a prayer for her. That she will continue. So my grandma's like 90 years old, so please say a prayer for her. Yeah. She's doing great though. But that's what we do. We bond women while incarcerated form their own incarcerated families. You become my prison mom, my prison auntie, my prison daughter, my prison cousin, all of that. Because we're familiar with family, and I say that we are family centered. So we do the same thing, creating those kind of pockets so that we feel like we have someone who still cares for us even while incarcerated. And we come home and we keep those connections, and we're always bonded, unfortunately, by the things that we've been through. So
Yeah.
we come home, we still look out for each other.
Ms. Alfrieda, I want to thank you for joining us today. Any final thoughts?
Just we got to be a caring generation. We got to look out for each other. When someone comes home, don't automatically assume that they just know what to do. Ask people what they need, and then help them. It's real simple. Just help them. We can all help.
Thank you for all that you do, Miss Alfrieda.
Thank you, Donnie, for having me, and keep on bringing your insight. And I want you to be one of those leaders that get out there and round us all up and give us our marching orders so that we can just come together and do
I'm
something.
gonna be like Harriet Tubman though. I will be strapped. Because Harriet Tubman stays strapped because you
I'm
always had
pleased.
a Negro want to pull that okie doke. Oh, I'm not blocked.
Uh, well, don't be strapped for us. I mean, talk to us. Shoot the enemy. We're
I'm
not
gonna
the
have the
enemy.
Bible and I'm gonna be strapped. Now you can pick a choice. Go to Bible study.
I'm going to pick the word, brother.
I think we better stick with the word.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the word.
Much love to you for all of the people that you have helped. We appreciate
Uh,
you.
no problem. Thank you for allowing me in. All right. You have a
Yes,
blessed
ma'am.
day. All
You
right.
too.
All right.
Good
Bye
morning,
bye.
world. Bye bye.